Alright, welcome back guys to the series that I think I'm going to be calling Minecraft Prime Survival. I think is what I'm going to go with. This is only going to be episode 2 so far, so it's still up for change. But nevertheless, what did we do yesterday? We basically ran around for about an hour and a half trying to find a nice location for me to set up shop in this new world that I've started. We found ourselves a nice village on the edge of a desert biome, and we're on the edge of what looks like a meadows biome, and then we also have, a few biomes pretty close by to each other. So I'm kind of on the border of a bunch of different ones. So I think the goal for today's video is to cut down a bunch of trees in the savanna area and get a bunch of the acacia logs, and we're going to build ourselves a nice border around this village to protect our villages, because we want to maintain the village as best we can, especially protect it from raids, because we want to set up a nice little trading system with this village. And yeah, if we're going to do that, we need to protect our villages. So that's the best way that I want to do it, and we're going to make a nice pretty looking wall around this thing. I got an idea of how I want to do it, but first things first, we need to collect some logs. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take our axes and we're going to go over and cut down as many trees as we possibly can and get some logs going to get that done. So let's go and do that. Alrighty, so I've managed to cut myself down a decent chunk of acacia trees. The few acacia trees that were over on the edge of the savanna over there, I cut down most of them, replanted a bunch. So while we're waiting for those to grow, we'll start on the wall. Now I've got almost just over 4 stacks of acacia. Oh, sorry, over 5 stacks of acacia logs, which is going to get me a decent chunk of the wall done, but I don't think it's going to quite get me to the end. I have some options here. I'm unsure exactly of what I want to do with this wall. Now, I could do a mixture of just straight up logs as such, and then mix in some planks, and then kind of do a variation of such, whether it's, rotating each one like that, one after the other. But I'm not sure if I like the look of that per se. I don't think it kind of, you know, the reds do match somewhat with the desert appeal, with the terracotta and the sandstone and such, but I don't really like the verticality of the logs and then the horizontal planks. So I don't think I'm going to go ahead and use any planks in this wall. I think I'm going to use just logs. Now, the other option is the fact that I can take the logs and I can place them sideways like such. Now, if I wanted to do something like that, I would have to kind of place them all like this, and that would end up being what the sides of my wall look like. And now, it would be a lot more effort to do that, and I'm not certain if it will look better or worse. Now, I don't mind the look of that. Now, the thing is, if I was to do kind of, anything along this line, the annoying thing is my shift key isn't working the greatest. Now, I unintentionally just did that one sideways like that, but that actually doesn't look half bad. Let's see what it looks like with all of them facing the right direction. I could also do just a straight up, not much of a pattern like that, or I could throw in some planks in the middle. I'm not sure I like the look of that one. I could also do a rotation, so I could do something like that one facing the side. Sorry, let me just try and do one side facing like that, and then go ahead and do the opposite for the next little 3x3 section. So we do no, let me fix that. Shift key. And then I can do kind of like a rotation like that. Now, doing this is going to take a lot more effort, rotating them backwards and forwards like this. However, I don't mind the look of it. Like, do we prefer this look or this look? Or do we go ahead and do something a little bit different, and instead of doing a flat wall all the way around, we can do something a little bit more abstract in the way that we do something more like this. So if I did, starting from here, this is our wall, let's say, and then we'll do, if I can crouch here, do something like that, and then it'll be like 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then the next one will be 3, and then we'll do 1, 2, 3 again, then 1, 2, and as long as it's too high everywhere, it would work perfectly fine. And now I know this looks and seems kind of ridiculous, but if that was the wall all the way around, I think it would have kind of an interesting aesthetic to it. But the trouble is, side on, there's no real reds, or there's no reds at all in this kind of wall. It just kind of looks grey. You don't really get the idea that it's wood, whereas if it was, oak planks or something like that, it's a bit more browns to it, so you would get the wood appeal of it a bit more. I do think that, in a way, the one we were working on over here, this works a bit better. Whether or not we want to do that the entire way around, whether we want to alternate between the red with the grey or the grey with the red and go backwards and forwards, or maybe do a weird pattern of something along those lines. We could also change it up and do multiple different patterns. So for an example, we could have like that, the one with the dot, and then we could have, let's put some, grass getting in my way there. The annoying thing about doing the wall like this is we're going to have to do a 2x2 wall and then fix it later, take the back row off, that is. But we can do something like this. So for this one, we would do facing there, there, and there, and then we do regular on these parts, and then kind of change between these. So regular, and then we would have that. And then the next one could be the opposite of that, and so on and so forth. We could even do like a rotating pattern and do different sorts of things the whole way along, and make kind of interesting patterns like that. And I think that could be interesting. However, I'm not sure if as a complete wall I would prefer the look of these two alternating backwards and forwards. Let's go ahead and sleep. Let's throw this bed down. I'm not sure if I would like the two alternating backwards and forwards, or just one type, and no real change between each of them. I have to decide. But what I can do is actually, instead of this alternating pattern here, we would do, let me collect these. We would do, I'm going to put this plank back here. We'd have to do something like this, and just have that wall the whole way. So, for example, this one, this would have to get cut out, this cut out, this cut out, this cut out. And we would do, fill this back one in. Oh, forgive me, did that one wrong. And we would do something along this line. Here we go. So we would do that the whole way. So kind of ignore that. Okay, let's fix this and just see what this looks like. And if I like the look of this, I might kind of do something along these lines for the rest of it. So we'll take this, we'll go forward on these, and then vertical on that one. And that would be our wall. It would have that kind of gap between each one. I don't mind that. Do we prefer that, or do we prefer the alternation between these two? I think I like the alternation more. So we'll do 1, 2, and then we'll just fill in that one, and then for this one, that, and alternate between this one and this one, and then just go all the way around like that. I kind of like that. I think that will be better. I think it's a little bit easier on the eyes to have the alternation other than just this. That of all the way around might get a little bit weird looking. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think I'm going to take this wall, and we're going to do that all the way around. Now, I was originally thinking about doing more of an arbitrary wall, such as this one over here, with the different heights to kind of give it more of a tribalistic feel to it. But I think I'm gonna like the more interesting design of this kind of wall all the way around. I think the reds showing through on the wall will kind of match in with the terracotta here, And I like the idea of doing the wall with wood, as long as there's no kind of. I mean, I hope there's nothing that's going to set it on fire. That would be super tragic. But we're going to go ahead and do that. I think we're going to do the alternation between the two, and I'm going to start making a wall around this village. Alright, so we have a small preview of what our wall is going to kind of look like, and I'm just now looking at this thinking that it's actually going to look quite nice, especially at nighttime, because I can do this. I can actually have like actual spots along the wall where the torches can sit and look quite nice, and maybe later on I can replace those with actual lanterns and make it look a little bit better. But I kind of like the vibe of it. It kind of gives me like Japanese style vibes. I don't know why that's coming through, but yeah, I like this so far. I think this is going to be good. I think maybe I can add like sort of a little bit more detail on the top of the walls, maybe with some stairs in different variations. But I like the start of this wall. I think I'm going to continue this all the way around the village. This may take me a little bit of time, and I may need to actually get myself a few more acacia logs, but nevertheless, I'm going to commit to this. I like the look of it so far. If I get all the way around the village and decide that it looks horrible, well then that's a bit unfortunate for me. But I think I'm pretty happy with this at this point. All right, so update. This is our wall so far. It's looking pretty good. I haven't got the greatest distance on it just yet. I got a nice little corner going over here, and that's going to go up to the end of the corner over there, and it's just going to be one giant square around this village. I may do some kind of fancy archway entrance style to the village. However, it's going to be completely aesthetic, and it's not actually going to have any kind of entryway into the village, because obviously it will defeat the purpose of having a physical wall. We can maybe do something with pistons later on to make it a functioning wall, but it's going to be one that's entry only, so the villagers can't get out. But in the saying that, we have to make sure that monsters themselves also can't get in. So that's going to be a future project, but for now we're going to keep trucking on and getting this wall finished. I like the pattern so far, and I know what you may be thinking. Belamy, that wall doesn't really mix too well with the desert theme of the village itself, and I somewhat agree with you. You know, the orangey reds, slightly similar to the terracotta, but they're not exactly the same. Um, but I will say that we are actually going to be dressing up our village a little bit. We're not going to leave it just as is. I'm probably going to be putting a large farm in this corner here and encouraging a bunch of farmer villagers to take up shop there. And we're going to be kind of extending the village and changing the aesthetic of it slightly ourselves as well, to give it a slightly different theme. But nevertheless, we want this village to look nice. And I'm going to throw my bed down here, get this night going away, and we're going to continue with the wall until we get something nice going. Alright, so I believe we've completed about 1/3 of the actual wall itself, and I've already ran out of acacia wood. So if I had to estimate, I would say we're going to need another 10 stacks of acacia tree logs before we can actually complete the wall. So we're going to have to cut down quite a few more trees, and that's going to take us a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to head over to our little tiny shack over here that we put up in episode 1 with our small little chest in it. I'm going to throw some stuff away into there so I can clear up some inventory space. And then we're going to go over and we're going to start digging up, or sorry, cutting down some more acacia wood. And hopefully by the time we get another bunch of trees down, we can actually work our way towards a nice looking wall around this beautiful village that we found ourselves in here. So first thing we're going to need is quite a few more actual iron axes. I have one still. It's about to run out though. It's probably one tap away from dying. Let's sleep this night away, and we'll head over to our little savannah area and get our hands on a few more stacks of acacia wood. Alright, so we're back over here, and as you can see, the area is quite bare compared to what you might expect. A few of the saplings that we planted down have started to regrow, so I'm going to grab those first thing. And we're just going to be making sure that while we're doing this, we're actually replanting as many of these as possible, because we don't want to run out of our acacia wood. So we have quite a few saplings placed down in this area already from earlier on, and I'm just going to go through, grab all the ones that have already regrown. Jump up on there. But it looks like we may have to venture a little bit further into the savanna area before we can actually acquire the appropriate amount of acacia woods that we're going to need for this this small wall project. So let's see, with no saplings on the ground here. Yeah, we got some saplings, it's not bad. I gotta keep in mind, I keep forgetting this little pit of lava is here. I'm gonna, if I fall into it, I'm gonna be very upset if I'm not paying attention. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and cut here, and hopefully the next time you guys see me speak, I'm sitting on about 10 stacks of acacia logs ready to finish this wall. Alright, so we have just over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have almost 6 stacks of acacia wood logs at this point. I'm currently out of food, or at least cooked food, so I want to go back and get some of that cooking before I start starving. And I don't think we quite have enough logs just yet to actually fully complete the wall. However, I think it'll be enough to get a decent chunk of it done, maybe get us to about 3/4 of the way done of the with the wall. And I don't just want to be constantly cutting down trees for a long extended period of time. So instead of staying and just cutting down trees constantly, I'm going to go over, do a little bit more of the wall section, and refill my food. And then we'll come back and cut down a few extra trees if necessary after we're done. Alright, so we've made good progress with the wall so far. You can see we've covered pretty much the entire... Which direction is this? What direction is that? What am I facing? Where's my direction? There we go. South wall. East wall's completely done. We're working on doing our north wall here, and then we're going to be doing our west wall over here. We have done, that's where we started, so we've done about half of that so far. We've done another half of this. We have only done the one small section of it. We're going to have to probably go get another 5 or so stacks of acacia wood. I can see the trees have already started regrowing over there in the distance, so that's really, really good. And yeah, it's coming along quite nicely. It is a bit of a mess around because we do have to add in basically 2 times the amount of wall and then cut half of it away simply to orient all of the wood the way we want it to. But I think it's going to come out looking quite nicely. Like I said, we're probably going to end up putting torches on each of these sections like so, and I think that's going to look quite nice, especially during the nighttime. But as you can see, we have to do essentially this the whole way around, so it takes a little bit longer than what you would, just doing a normal wall like this. And yeah, because we need to be able to place our acacia wood facing out to us with the back plate there. So we've done a large section of the wall. We'll probably need a few more stacks of wood, but we'll go ahead and go cut those down, and hopefully the final product looks quite nice and clean. And then we're going to go level out some of these areas out here, because obviously we have to fill in a bit of sand here to get everything to be the same height. And out here at the front, where it's a little bit more raised, we're going to lower some of this area too and kind of even everything out. And then we're going to start fixing up some of the villagers' houses and get it all nice and matchy in the theme. So it's going good so far. I'm going to head over and start cutting down some trees. Alrighty, so we finally collected enough wood and we've finished our wall around our little village here. And yes, I know it is just a perfect little box. It is very symmetrical. I originally wanted to start off doing something a little more abstract and random in shape with different size pillars and things like that. But I elected to go for this pattern. Something came to me and I decided this is what I wanted to do. So we have this nice Lego looking box around our village now. Obviously I had to cut through some of the dirt areas on some of the higher areas in the actual village, and you can see over on the far southeast corner, whatever corner that is, we can see that I had to actually build up with a bit of sand because it was a lot lower over there, so I had to level it out a little bit. It looks a little bit wonky in some areas. I'm going to dig out a lot of the dirt over there eventually and fill in the corner over there with some sand so it's a little bit more even. And then I think I'm going to dig up all of the sandstone pathing through the village and kind of replace it with something that matches the acacia wood a little bit better, just to kind of blend the village into the style of the fence. I'm unsure if I'll actually replace any of the grass with any sand, but I think I might keep this corner a nice flat corner and fill it in with all farmland, and put a bunch of composters up there for all of the farmers and things like that when I start to expand the village, when I get to that point. But for the time being, we're just going to leave our village as is. I'm going to try and put as many torches around as I possibly can to try and stop monsters from spawning here at night, so I don't have to worry about sleeping. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to put torches on each of the little square blocks on the inside and as well on the outside. So now that I'm actually up on this thing, I've noticed how large this village actually is. There's actually 4 golems spawned in this village. It's quite a few from memory. But there's quite a lot of villages as well. Unfortunately, 2 of them escaped during the making of the wall. I could probably just put a path for them to come back in and just fall into the village again. That may actually work, but if not, they're just going to have to stay out there and die and eventually get replaced. Which is tragic, I know, but it's just what has to happen. So, can I make a jump out here real quick? Perfect. Alright, so what I might do is I might build a quick little path for these guys to try and make their way back into the village, because they're most likely trying to get in by now. Let's see if he'll path into the actual village. They'll jump onto the wall. I'm not sure if they'll actually drop over onto the other side, though. Maybe if I do something like this. Okay, no, they dropped in. Okay, that's perfect. Alright, well, they don't have to die now. That's wonderful. Alright, so my wall is done. I'm going to go ahead and put some torches all the way around it on the outside and then again on the inside. Alright, so the sun is just starting to go down. It's just starting to turn dark. And you can see the fence wall, whatever you want to call it, actually looks quite nice with the torches in it. Like I said earlier, I may actually replace these with lanterns later on when I have access to a few more of those. I think the lanterns will look much nicer in the end, but for now, that's all we got, and I kind of like I like the look of it. I think it looks quite good, but we're going to go ahead and jump inside, change it over the night here so we don't end up with any zombies or anything spawning in the village and messing with that, and we'll torch the inside as well. Alright, well, it is now nighttime, and the lights are out, but in our village, the lights are on. And I know it might not be the most aesthetically pleasing way to light a village. We're early on in the old Prime Survival, so this is the best way for us to ensure the safety of our villages for the time being, and allow us to actually interact and do things in our village throughout the night without worrying about having to sleep immediately. So it's not bad. Obviously, there are a few spaces that I need to line up a bit better. There's some dark areas, and obviously the rooftops of some of the buildings are going to need some work. But I think it looks pretty good. From afar like this, it actually doesn't look too bad, but, you know, running around in the village, all the torches everywhere on the ground is a bit obnoxious. But for the time being, this is what we're going to work with. Like I said earlier in the video, we're going to spruce this village up a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer in the future at some point. But that is not going to be right now. As of right now, I'm going to be working on just safeguarding the village and getting it set up in a way that I can get myself easy access to armor pieces like diamond armor and diamond tools and weaponry and things like that without having to dig for hundreds of diamonds, essentially. So that's the goal, and not only that, it's a good way for us to get enchantments very easily. So that will be in a future video. If you want to find out how to do that kind of stuff, that will be done. And yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to line up some of these few dark areas that I left behind, and that's going to be the end of this episode. So if you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Prime Survival. Cheers, guys.